Hi, in this video, I want to show you the 9 things which will make you 3 times safer as you cycle through London or any other major city. My name is Max. I've been cycling in London for the last 45 years and I've yet to have a serious accident involving another vehicle. But first of all, be in no doubt that cycling is the safe thing to do. You can halve or nearly halve your risk of heart disease and cancer simply by commuting to work on a bicycle. That's from a 2017 study in the BMJ, which was over 18 years, and the link is below in the description, along with all the other reports and stats I'm going to give you today. So the next time some armchair golem says to you, "Oh, I'm so worried about you cycling in London," say to them, "I'm so worried about you doubling your risk of cancer and heart disease by not cycling." Cycling gives you the freedom of the city. It shrinks distances and it's fun. So do it. So let's look at my 9 points. The first point then is be seen. I didn't see the cyclist. I didn't see you. That is the #1 cause of cycle accidents in the UK, according to UK government stats. And yet, many cyclists, almost most cyclists in London, still choose to don an invisibility cloak like Harry Potter when they go get on their bikes. They wear dark clothing, they don't wear lights. Just wearing this bright yellow stuff reduces your risk of accident by 38%, according to a Danish study in Copenhagen. So it's not sexy, but nor is being hit by a car. So I just always wear something bright yellow, a big bright yellow thing when I cycle in London. I also always wear a flashy light day and night. USB lights are so easy to use these days. And that again confers a big benefit. In fact, another Danish study found a 19% improvement in safety levels if you wore a flashy light day and night. So look, this is my helmet. I always wear a helmet. And these are my lights, which are attached to the helmet. I love this configuration for 2 reasons. The first is that I never lose my lights because they're attached to my helmet. And that's such a big thing that even I can't actually lose it. So I never have to worry about leaving on the bike, whether they get stolen, whatever. And secondly, because people keep saying to me, "Are you filming me?" Because they think that this kind of light actually is a camera, which it isn't. But that's an extra added benefit. Okay, so be seen. And you are 57% safer on your bicycle immediately. But being seen is not enough. Tip #2, cycling to be seen. You have to cycle to be seen. Let's imagine you're coming up to a major road. You're on the major road, and on the minor road, you see a sporty red Audi driven by what looks like a young man, and he is inching forwards. You have right of way, but what are you going to do to make yourself seen? So the answer is first, do not crawl along in the gutter in these circumstances, because if you are just cycling in the gutter, he's going to have to turn his head through 90 degrees to see you. Instead, indicate and move into the center of the lane. And then he just has to go, oh, there's a bicycle there. Yeah. So that's a really important tactic to be used all the time. And don't worry about cars behind you. If they make a noise, that's up to them. But you, by going into the middle of the lane, you're doing cycling to be seen. The second thing I always do is I look for eye contact. I look for eye contact with pedestrians. I look for eye contact with cyclists. I look for eye contact always with drivers. And a smile goes with that, of course. So that you can intuit that you've been seen. You can intuit you've got eye contact often. It's 95% of the time correct. It's not always correct, but it's a useful tool in your cupboard, as it were. Second, the other thing to say is that despite the flashy yellow, despite being in the middle of the lane, and despite the eye contact, or you can occasionally get drivers who just look straight through you. This is a kind of once in a decade experience, in my view. But you need to anticipate that he hasn't seen you, that he might come forwards. And under those circumstances, you want your fingers on the brakes so that you're fast off the mark and you know to know which way you're going to go if he does come out. Okay, that gives us an extra 20%, I reckon, an easy 20%. So we're now at 77%. 77% safer on the first two tips. Tip three is be heard. The little bell that you got on your handlebars decreed by Parliament, that is no use when you're dealing with people in sealed compartments or you're dealing with pedestrians with these on their ears. No, you need, therefore, a horn. And you have a horn. It is your voice box. You have a really good horn in your voice. But you need to know exactly what you're going to say in any situation. It's no good going, watch out. You don't want your brain to have to think about what word or what sound is going to come out of your horn. So me, I always go hep, and I go hep. Often I will go hep if I think somebody is about to step off the pavement, or if I think that red Audi is about to come out into the road. In any situation, I will yell hep, and I will yell it loudly. The one exception is in central London, where if you're faced with a lot of pedestrians who are about to cross the road in front of you and you have right of way, you've got the green light, in those circumstances, I go, hebbity bebbity bep, hebbity bebbity bep. And again, I do that loudly and it always works. They park, they smile, one or two of them go hebbity bebbity bep back to me. So be heard, know your horn and know how to use it. That I think gives us an extra 15%. Because in my experience, it makes a huge difference. So the next point is always indicate. Indicate, indicate, indicate. Don't be I sometimes indicate or I indicate when I think it's necessary. Be an always indicator. Why? Well, let's imagine that you are coming home late at night and you're about to go into your home road. You're about to turn left into your home road. You can hear silence behind you. So you don't indicate. You start turning. That is the moment when you will collide with the idiot in the line bike who's going up your inside, who's undertaking you. So you haven't got rear view mirrors on a bicycle. So you really do need to always indicate. And when I say indicate, you need to indicate with your arms and you need to use your arms. So don't just stick it out there, but wave it around. Go like that if you want to. Yeah. Make sounds. And if you can't for some reason use your arms to indicate, cock a leg. Or even just go, I'm going right, so I'm going right like that. Yeah. And pedestrian and good drivers will pick up on that as well. So, okay. So that, I think, gives us an extra 15%. So it takes us to 108% safer. Okay. So now let's look briefly at two easily avoidable but really serious causes of bicycle accidents in London and other major cities. The first is being car doored. This is when you are cycling along through past a lane of parked cars and somebody suddenly just opens the door on your face. It's very nasty and very painful. And it's very easy to avoid. All you have to do is to always cycle at least 1.5 meters out from the parked car so that anyone opens the door, it's not going to hit you. That means, again, being more assertive in your cycling, probably stopping cars from driving past you, definitely, probably. That's okay. So all you have to do is to do that, and you will not be carded. I haven't been carded in 45 years because I do that. And you can tell novice cyclists in London because they're the ones who are going like 6 inches away from parked cars. So that's how to avoid that. And in Vancouver, that accounts for 15% of all accidents. So we're now at 123% safer. Okay. So the other major source of accidents in London involves heavy goods vehicles, HGVs. In other words, those are big articulated trucks or skip trucks, in fact, any large lorry. So The real lesson here is that they make up 4% of London traffic. They account for 41% of deaths for cyclists, and they also account for about 15% of serious accidents. And you can avoid all that, or almost all of that, simply by not going up the inside of an HGV at a traffic light. So if you are on the inside of an HGV and the HGV driver isn't aware that you're there, and they start turning left, even if they haven't indicated that, you may have nowhere to go. So the important thing is do not go up the inside of an HGV. So if you're in a traffic jam, you can just wait behind the HGV if you like. That's a safe place to be. Alternatively, if you want to overtake a traffic jam, I tend to do it on the outside of the line of traffic rather than the inside. So you're facing the oncoming traffic. That feels a bit risky, but actually they can see me, I can see them. It works well, and I won't be car doored, and there's a risk of being car doored if you crawl up the inside of a line of traffic. I get a real kick out of passing a line of a kilometre length of traffic like that. So that's another 20% because we're not going to get affected by HGVs like that. So we're now 143% safer. Okay, point number 8 is a real biggie. And this is simply, if you really want to be safe on London's roads, then just use minor roads, cycle lanes, and bus lanes. In other words, use the cycling infrastructure that's provided, use small roads. Low traffic neighbourhoods in London claim to have reduced cycling accidents by 70%. And other studies done by Transport for London show savings between 40 and 65% for cycle lane usage. The caveat here is that cycle lanes are not always perfect places. They are sometimes poorly designed. You'll find they have a floating curb, so sometimes the curb is flush with the road and sometimes it's raised. So it's quite easy to not know and to have an accident. And so sometimes they're just poorly designed. So the message is the first time you use any cycle lane, get to know it well, get to know its foibles and eccentricities, and then you'll be okay because they are safer by a long way than roads. I'll give you that. Me personally, I like cycle lanes because I like bus lanes. Bus lanes are good because they're wider, and I think bus drivers are very well trained about cyclists. They've also got great visibility in those things these days. Motorcyclists very rarely have accidents with cycles, and taxis tend to be professional drivers. So you're in a much safer place in a bus lane. Personally, I prefer them over cycle lanes, but that's a preference. Okay. That takes us, let's say that makes you 60% safer. That takes us to 203% safer. You're now 203% safer than you were before you started watching this video. Let me say then, item 8 would be go on a course to consolidate some of this stuff. Local councils run these courses regularly. Just Google your local council and find a course, or go out with an experienced cyclist who can show you the ropes a few times before you go out by yourself. And number 9 is to be thankful. Cycle thankfully. I always do this. I now look out for reasons to thank people. And when you start doing that, you realize that 99.9% of drivers and a lot of pedestrians are on your side. They're careful, considerate people who will look out for you. And I go along and I go thank you. I go thank you to the pedestrian who saw me coming and took his step back off the zebra crossing because he wanted me to have right of way. I say thank you to that car which followed me through half a kilometre of parked cars, narrow lanes before trying to overtake me. And I say thank you by going thumbs up, by yelling thank you. And I say thank you to that young man in the red Audi who didn't come out at me. Maybe he could have done, and you probably would have given a screech of brakes and he would have disappeared into the distance, but he didn't. He waited patiently for me. So thank you. By saying thank you, I know that I can change behavior. I know that if you thank motorists, they will look the next time they see a cyclist to see if they will reward them with thank you. This really works. And it also means that when I get to the end of my journey, I feel at peace with the world and I'm aware of how much other people actually are out there to help you. So thank you for listening to this video. I hope it's been useful. I love your comments and feedback, negative and positive. Thank you very much. Bye.